Hey, this is Jeff Johnston, host of the Living Undeterred podcast, and I'm very excited for my good, dear friend to be here today to talk about, well, I don't know, Tony, what are we going to talk about? I was thinking about so many things on the way down because you and I, we can share about how we met. And this is there's no topic that we have to hide from, so we can go down any road we want, but again, welcome to the show, and I really don't have any idea where we're going to end up, but I'm excited to talk to you again, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And yeah, what a blessing and an honor it was to go to Panama with you and the connection we made. Immediately, I was drawn to you, and our friendship just was solidified right away. I respect you and honor you for the work you're doing for children. And, I had my start with, we're going to talk a little bit about psychedelics and how I
Yeah.
got to one and done.
Yep.
It was probably 4.5 years ago when I was introduced to ketamine, and I was a heavy drinker. And my daughter was having a few issues from high school and COVID, and we found a ketamine center. And when I read about it, it was good for addiction. And I'd already tried to quit alcohol numerous times. We start in high school.
Yeah.
Back
Yep.
then it was
Yep.
easy to get. And so I'd been a drinker my whole life. And it seemed like every time I could quit for 3 months or 4 months, we would go on a trip to Costa Rica or Guatemala or somewhere. The first thing we did was go to the liquor store and we
Yeah.
drank. And if it touched my lips, I then would get home and go right to the liquor store and start drinking again. And then I would drink more than before
Yeah.
I quit. So
Right.
it just became a cycle. But then ketamine cured me of alcohol. My second sitting, I was like, realized it was dissociative. I didn't realize that the first time. I just saw like red lava and blue lava. The third time were these red leaves getting sucked up this tunnel and more red leaves until it was just a river of leaves going up this tunnel. And I asked my integration coach, I said, what does that mean? And I mean, I'm crying because I had this spiritual awakening. And
Right.
she said, well, when something's getting sucked away from you, that's you giving up something. I looked at her and said, I gave up alcohol. 4.5 years later, or actually 4 years now, I hadn't had a drop just from
So
that one ketamine session.
let's go back a little bit. Let's go back a little bit further because I think it's important. There's a lot of people that follow me that aren't familiar with my experiences with psychedelics, and kind of what drew me to this space. Obviously, people that follow me know my story with Seth and Prudence and kind of what I've been through. And for me, psychedelics was another arrow in the quiver. I had guests on that had ayahuasca retreat experience, and I had never done these things. And I'm like, well, I'm not in a good place. I made the decision to stop drinking alcohol previous to my psychedelic experiences. But what I found out about psychedelics, and one thing I'd like to do today is make sure we explain what ketamine is, Ibogaine, ayahuasca, all these different terms people use, because I think you and I throw them around. We understand them, but the average listener is still quite intimidated by these terms. But for me, it opened up these pathways, Tony, and you witnessed it in Panama because you and I, like I said, we you meet people sometimes where you're both running 100 miles an hour, and you and I met like collisioned like that.
Hmm.
And just the moment I met you and what you were going through at that moment, and your vulnerability and your authentic care for the human race, to care about people is something that's rare today. Most people are self-centered. I was self-centered before I ran into psychedelics. So let's go back a little bit about, like, in your mind, where do psychedelics fit in today? And then let's talk a little bit about some of the core basic ones people may be familiar with, like psilocybin, MDMA, things like that. Maybe you can give a quick tutorial of like your understanding of where these fit in and what they are, so that we can start off without people being lost initially.
Yeah, let me tell you about ketamine. Ketamine was
Yeah.
developed by the military back in the Vietnam days as an anesthesia. So soldiers would get blown up severely, maimed in war, and they would shoot them up with ketamine
So
because
that's
it
what it
would
was
take
initially, just an
it
anesthesia.
took away
Okay.
the pain, and it was an anesthesia, and they used it during surgery. Well, then the veterans military started saying, "Hey, I'm having this spiritual experience while I'm on
Yeah.
this anesthesia."
Yep.
It was a dissociative, and that's where I got my break. I was spiritually reborn and gave up alcohol. And then I was introduced to the MDMA psilocybin combination next.
Okay.
And MDMA is just pure ecstasy, and ecstasy opens your heart like a flower. The
Hmm.
psilocybin opens your mind, and you get a heart-mind coherence.
That's why they
And
call
that,
that a heart protocol, right?
yeah, and what it
Okay.
does is it helps collapse the ego. People call it ego death. You never lose your ego. It's
Right.
ego collapse to
Yeah.
make room for the new you that's going to show up, because I was manifesting becoming love and light and, changing this planet.
Yep.
And the psilocybin, my first ceremony, I knew I wanted everybody on the planet to be able to experience life change and transformation like I did. And I
Hmm.
thought, what plant medicine is it, God? So I tried them all. I tried Bufo, Kambo, Changa, ayahuasca, tried everything but peyote. And it
Hmm.
wasn't until we started Mike Hendricks and I started the Texas Emerging Therapies Association board here in Texas, and we put MDMA and psilocybin on the Texas legislative docket, and it passed.
Hmm.
And I paid the two lobbyists $40,000 to run it through the Texas legislature. And now Baylor Medical down by Houston is doing research for PTSD, anxiety, depression, and an addiction. And
Hmm.
that was 3.5 years ago. Well, Rex Alsace, who lost his son to a fentanyl overdose in Ohio, he has the Reed Foundation. He
Okay.
called me up last year and said, "Hey, Brian Hubbard just failed to pass Ibogaine in Kentucky. Do you want to bring it to Texas?"
I
And
remember
whew,
that.
my hand went up. So we flew
Yep.
Brian down, and we sat with Governor Perry, Brian, my two lobbyists, and Rex. We sat in at the Capitol in a room, and we listened to Brian. And they said, "What do you think?" I said, "Yes." So
Right.
that's when I
Right.
knew that God sent Ibogaine to me. And I, again, came January, my lobbyist said, "Hey, we need to get paid." And I said, "How much donations do we get?" Because Rex has a 501(c)(3) through the Reed Foundation.
Hmm.
Rex said nothing. And we got
Hmm.
one small donation because I had a fundraiser at my house, and Nolan Ryan lives on my street. They are the most beautiful couple. Ruth and Nolan Ryan made a donation, went straight to the lobbyist. So again, I wrote my lobbyist $40,000 check. So two legislative bills in the state of Texas I paid for out of my own pocket. So that's
Yeah.
how that started. And
That's
then,
how stuff gets done,
trying,
right? That's how stuff gets done. You do it yourself
yeah,
first, and then you get people to come on board later.
yeah. And so then, it was all about psychedelics for me, helping me take the next step and the next step and the next step and grow spiritually and connect to the spirit world. And it's just been an amazing journey. And now I don't need psychedelics. It got
Right.
me to where I am today. And I really don't have the desire to do them because I've had the ego collapse. I've become a new person. I'm loving, I'm caring, I'm kind, I'm generous. And that's what it did for me. And I never tell anybody, do psychedelics. This is what it's going to do for you. No, no, no.
Right.
I only say what it did for me because everybody's experience with plant medicine is different. And what happened is in the 60s, LSD came out and all these other stuff came out. LSD actually softens the neurotransmitters on your brain, like ketamine and ayahuasca and ibogaine and iboga. It all softens the neurotransmitters. And let me explain that so everybody will understand. On your brain, you have all these highways of thinking. And that's what the 3D world trains you. Now, most children, when they're tested before 7 years old, are geniuses because
Hmm.
God created us in his likeness. And I just realized like 2 months ago why they start losing the genius at 7. Because the 3D world, they start getting exposed to school and their friends and their parents, and the
Yeah.
3D world starts taking them out of what's called the gamma frequency. And you start losing the gamma frequency slowly, and it takes you out of being a genius because the 3D world trained you. And so, like psilocybin softens the neurotransmitters for about 2 weeks, ketamine for about 3 days. And
Hmm.
that is the window of the retraining of the brain. So, in layman's terms, let me explain it to your audience. Say it, your mind is like a snow-covered mountain and you're addicted to something and you have all
Hmm.
these tracks and you see the white powdery snow. I don't want to be addicted anymore. So I aim my skis down the white powdery snow. I want to start a new life. And as you launch, boom, you go down the old tracks. You're stuck in
Yeah.
addiction. You're
Yep.
stuck in this 3D mindset. Ibogaine and plant medicines wipe the mountain clean for that window of when the neurotransmitters are softened. Now, Ibogaine actually is the longest. 3 to 9 months. Talking with Dr. Joseph Barsuglia and Tricia Eastman, they go to Gabon, Africa, where the iboga plant was discovered by the Bwiti tribe thousands of years ago. And they say it's 3 to 9 months. Now, once technology came along, they took the iboga bush and started looking at it. Well, they found out it had 12 alkaloids, one of them being ibogaine. And so they isolated it, took it out of the plant, but it's very powerful on its own. So you have to wear they wear a battery operated heart monitor. They give you some magnesium before to lessen the severity. Nobody's really dying from ibogaine. They just monitor you. You wear a blood pressure cuff. It's all battery operated. It's not like big machines and all these wires, but they monitor you. But ibogaine wipes the mountain clean. It's all powdery snow. All those old tracks in addiction are gone. Ibogaine has an 86% success rate of curing meth, heroin, gambling, food addictions, tobacco, everything in 36 to 72 hours after one dose. If you do it a year later, it's a 97% success rate. Unbelievable that God created this medicine. Now, these are medicines. In the 60s, when LSD came out, nobody knew what to do. And they thought, oh, I can fly. They're jumping off buildings. And the government said, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Grouped it all under class 1 narcotic. So that you have Big Pharma's drugs and God's medicines all grouped under class 1. And we're in the process of trying to get all of God's medicines taken off of class 1, put into class 3, so you can serve it as a sacrament through a religious church, which is a 508c3 1A. Everybody's doing that, but I flew up to Washington, D.C., and I spoke with legislators, and I said, what's on the do list and what's on the don't? They said, there's no do list. It's all on a do not list. It's illegal. Really? Everybody's doing it. They're just not enforcing the law. Okay. So anybody serving ketamine, psilocybin, anything through a plant medicine church is breaking the law. They're just not being enforced. I sat in Washington and spoke to legislators about it.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's where that came from. But I never thought at 55 years old I was going to do psilocybin. Yeah, but here's how.
Me too. At 56, you and I are the same age, right? We're about a month apart. I think we're about almost.
Yeah,
60.
I'll be 60 in May.
April. For me.
Yeah. We're
we
that's
both
why
started,
God crossed our paths.
Yeah, for many reasons, Tony. So we both started this psychedelic experience about the same time. I was 56. My first introduction to it. So one thing I want to do is, what was Tony like prior to all this? Like, even prior to your alcoholism, like in your 30s and 40s, like what were the things that you now look back on and say, maybe I wish I would have experienced these things sooner in my life, and maybe I would have been able to get a better grasp on some of the things that I thought were important in my life, but psychedelics showed me that they weren't.
Yeah, what it is God's got a plan for you to teach you to grow and learn. So every human sent down here to earth has 2 to 5 traumas that we're going to go through, and we have to conquer those traumas, or they follow us through the next life, called karma. Everybody thinks karma is like, oh, so-and-so did this and 2 weeks later something bad happened to him. That's karma. That's not it at all. Karma is the traumas we go through. We have to accept those traumas, work through them, and beat them, or we're going to experience again in our next life. It's called ancestral, and you have ancestral karma that your lineage didn't pass that is put on you also. I've had some very traumatic health issues.
I know you shared with me.
Yeah, and what happens is when God's about to give you abundance, he lets the enemy take you to the edge to see if you're strong enough to handle the abundance coming.
Yeah.
And man, I barely made it, but I did. I beat it. And I want everybody in the audience to know how. Because all of us love roller coasters when we were growing up. That little woo, that feeling of free fall feeling, right?
Right.
So what I do now is I stand on the edge and I put my toes over an edge and I look down and like, do I want to take my life? Man, if I jump, man, it's that free fall feeling. And I go, nope, I don't. I hate that free fall feeling. I turn around, go the other way. So that's how I've been able to beat suicide maybe 3 times in the last, since July last year. I've had these stomach pains that are so severe. I'm screaming for 45 minutes. And the first time was 19 episodes in 4 days without food or water. And it's not a test by God. It's called God stretching you. So he
Mm.
stretches you and lets the enemy see, okay, is he worthy for this abundance? And so it happened again February 1st. It happened in July. I had heartburn times 1,000, but I didn't
Yeah, I
have the
remember we talked
screaming.
on the phone, and if I could have been down there to help you, I would have, because the pain in your voice was just palpable. I could just feel it coming through the phone.
Yeah, so I endured 14 and a half hours in July last year of the most excruciating pain, bent over my toilet with every abdomen trying to squeeze. Because when you hurt your finger, you squeeze it, right? Well,
Hmm.
when it's burning in your stomach, your body, every abdomen is squeezing. So I'm bent over in the fetal position, just screaming for 45 minutes a session. That was about 14 and a half hours. Well, it just happened in February. Only this time, it was 5 times worse.
Yeah.
I was bedridden in the fetal position for almost 3 weeks. I endured 72 hours of this burning, and it was through chat. No hospital, no doctor would like help me, and I
Hmm.
can't take anything down my throat because it's my stomach.
Hmm.
So through Chat GTP, she's talking to me like Tony, and I get all these symptoms, all but vomiting. I was only day one, and we
Yeah.
go through all that, and she says, Tony, I think you have a 100% blockage of your small intestine. You need to get to the emergency room ASAP. Jeff, I went 33 days without a bowel movement. I'm telling my
Wow.
gastro doctor, and they're like, oh, they went down to endoscopy. Your sphincter valve's fine. Well, let's just go up your nose and put a wire in your stomach, and you'll wear a monitor for 24 hours. And I'm like, y'all, you need to go the
Hmm.
other way. I'm blocked. So what it
Right.
was is no food or water was getting into my intestines, but my intestines were getting no water. So it's telling me you're thirsty, you're thirsty. I keep drinking and I'm like sloshing around. I got so much water in my stomach, but nothing could pass. I couldn't urinate. I couldn't have a bowel movement. And so when I laid down, there was so much, you know, how pressure water is.
Oh yeah.
The
Right.
pressure would open the sphincter valve and acid would go up into my esophagus and eat me alive for like
Oh
45
man.
minutes. So
Yeah, that
this
sounds
last round in
horrible.
February, I endured 72 hours of screaming. I was in a fetal position in my bed for 2 straight weeks. I had to hire a personal assistant to help with my laundry because all this fluid couldn't go nowhere. So every night I was just wringing wet because my body's just trying to get this
Wow.
water out of me. I had to wash my sheets every day. I had somebody to help me with my emails, my bills, and I hired a nurse to live in my unit B. And so when I'd be screaming in the middle of the night, I'd just call him and he'd run over and help me. And so I wouldn't call an ambulance because the first week I battled it all by myself and I kept calling an ambulance. Like after by the third bout, I just couldn't take it. And so I
Right.
would be waiting on the sidewalk for them and they would pick me up and they thought I was homeless. And they would bring me to the hospital. They wouldn't even check me into the ER. They would just put me in a room and like 15 minutes later, say, all right, Mr. Glace, head to the waiting room. Your Uber's on the way. And I'm like, check me out. Somebody help me. And they would send me home. That happened 3 times. And so finally I told the ambulance driver, take me to a better hospital. Take me to Dell Medical this time. They were just taking me to South Austin Medical Center. They take me to Dell Medical, and a lot of the Hispanics in town and people around here, homeless, they don't have insurance. Well, they get a hangnail, that's where they go.
Yeah.
They don't check me in the ER again. They wheel me on a gurney to the waiting room, and they said, all right, get off the gurney and get in a chair. You'll be seen in about 10 hours. And I'm like, fighting,
Right.
screaming, and I'm
Right.
thinking, no way. So I call my own Uber. And so I get in the Uber, and he's like, all right, I'm taking you to this address. And I'm like, that's the wrong address. I said, it should be, this is where I live. He goes, wrong address. He pulls over and goes, get out. And I'm like,
Really. That's right.
so now it's 3 a.m. I'm sitting on a curb in downtown Austin in pain. I'm trying to call another Uber to get home. But yeah, that's what I went through. But it was the most excruciating pain because more abundance is coming
The
through
thing about
through
you,
the state
Tony,
of
that
Texas.
I immediately was attracted to was, your ability to share these stories because you and I both are very vulnerable people. And I think we both met and we both like put our masks down, and sometimes two men meet and they puff their chests and they talk about all their successes, where you and I were like, we were instantaneously talking about the opposite, not failures, but just the challenges we're going through. I don't believe like, you know, now after 9 years of Seth's death, early on, I felt like I failed him. Like I should have done more and better. But as time has elapsed, I started thinking about, given the situation I was in, given the cards I was dealt, the knowledge level I had on being even a parent at that point, because Seth was our first child. And there's a lot of learning that goes through adversity. And I think your story is proof, and mine, and along with all the other people you and I talk to every day that are in this space. We all have a story. And some of us involves death, some it's health, some of it's divorce, some of it's, financial stuff. But the fact that you and I can share and talk about this, I think, is a very important thing. And so your nonprofit, One and Done, is kind of the growth or the offshoot of all your experiences that you've had. And maybe we could talk a little bit about what One and Done is specifically. How can people get involved and help you? Obviously, at the end, we'll put up all your information for everybody to either donate or get involved. But you talk about love and abundance. And for me, that's what the psychedelic world has done to me, has allowed me to, obviously take care of myself, which, you're on my, what, all the time, all the time. You're riding me all the time. Jeff, take care of Jeff, take care of Jeff. If there's one person that does probably a good job of that, it's you, Tony. Is constantly riding me, because I have a tendency to not do a good job of that, especially last year, as was a very hard year for both of us. But going back to One and Done, maybe talk a little bit about, I know the idea behind it. I know what you do, but maybe share with our listeners, what the big vision is for One and Done, and why you think it can be a life-saving nonprofit for organizations, especially for veterans that are really struggling, and how can people help?
Yeah, so how that happened was we passed the Ibogaine bill, and then former Governor Perry and Brian Hubbard and Ann Claire Stapleton decided to start Americans for Ibogaine. And I thought to myself, what's phase 2 for me? That is going to take 4 to 6 years to get the research to get it passed in the state of Texas. What is my phase 2? Well, plant medicine is only 10 to 20% of the process. The other 80 and 90 is integration, which
Correct.
People don't get.
Right.
Veterans
right.
are going to Mexico and doing the medicine, and then they go home and they're told to get a Zoom call once a week.
Yeah.
Most of them will do 1 or 2 Zooms and fall off.
Yeah.
Integration is the retraining of the brain. And so that's when when the neurotransmitters are softened, you tell yourself the person you want to be. I want to be loved, light, caring, generous, faithful. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do this, I don't do that. I don't cut people off in traffic. That's how the retraining works, and nobody's getting that. So Ibogaine is almost a one and done medicine. So I named my nonprofit One and Done, and my logo is the Iboga plant, which I have tattooed on my body because I believe in it so highly. The efficacy of it is astounding. So I created a nonprofit in Texas called One and Done, and we're going to bring the vets from Mexico to our facility for 3 weeks. What I didn't realize, I manifested bringing the spouse in to do integration. And then I thought, let's bring the whole family. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. Then I'm a licensed daycare. And then if I have parents there, then they're going to wonder where the kids are and what the kids are. So I wanted to eliminate any distractions.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is bring the veteran in, and then do one-on-one integration for a week. Then we're going to bring the spouse or significant other in for a week, do the couples integration, send the one spouse home with the kids, where our integration coaches will have a Zoom with that spouse and the children to prep the children for the new parent. Because what was happening was my nonprofit creator went down to Beyond Ibogaine. Tom and Talia have a great organization down there.
I'm familiar with them.
He was there, and I was actually in Washington, D.C., supposedly getting prepped to meet with RFK Jr., which turned out to be a scam. But
oh, wow.
She calls me and she said, Tony, there's 3 veterans here that were here 5 years ago when there was 5 beds. Now they have 26 beds and a team of 70 doctors and nurses. She said, I asked the veteran, what do you guys need in an integration center? And they said, integration with our spouse, because we're coming home completely transformed. They're not recognizing us, and we're getting divorced. She said, Tony, what you manifested is exactly what they need. And then a girl walks up to her with her phone and says, hey, I just got this text. And it says, we need Ibogaine in the United States ASAP, RFK Jr.
Wow.
So she booked that trip a month in advance, and she's flying out on a Wednesday. I get a call on a Monday to fly to Washington on Wednesday. So she's on her way to Mexico. I'm on my way to Washington. I'm getting prepped to meet with RFK Jr. She's in Mexico and gets a text from RFK Jr. That's how God works. So just an amazing story there. But Ibogaine, the efficacy is just astounding. So we're going to have the building right now is 150,000 square feet. It's about 75 million, but we're adding stuff every day. It's going to have a big meandering driveway about these around legacy oak trees where we're going to have park areas. The building is going to be in the shape of the Pentagon.
Oh,
We're
wow.
going to have big arches on the way that says, your healing starts here.
Mm.
Welcome home. And I'm going to have a big sign because the VA didn't welcome them home. We sent them
No.
over, lean, mean fighting machines, and now
Yep.
they're overweight, addicted to meth, heroin, alcohol, you name it.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yep.
they're getting cured, and the last thing you want to do to somebody that's just been cured is put them through a divorce.
So
You
I got
don't
a
want them.
question. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I just have a question popped in my head. I watched the documentary that you told me to watch. I can't remember the name of it now.
In Waves and War.
Yeah, and you had a hand in some of that. But my question is this: I noticed in the documentary that there were, I wouldn't say pushback, but there's some. Do you get some of the veterans that have so much pride and ego that they just can't envision a plant helping them
Hmm.
when they're these big strong men with tattoos and they've done the most challenging, unthinkable things that have to do for their country, and they have a sense of honor for that. But do you see that getting in the way of them actually opening up and trying some of these things? I mean, I would think that based on that documentary I watched, that some of the men had reservations because they're fixers. They think they can fix this themselves. But do you think some of these military men are kind of putting the guard down a little bit and they're more receptive to things like Ibogaine and psychedelics in general?
Yeah, because it's like when you're an alcoholic and you hit rock bottom. These guys
Right.
are at wits' end. Nothing's worked.
Right.
The VA
The only
runs
other option's a bad option.
yeah, the VA puts a veteran through rehab on a tune of 5 to 6 times at $100,000 a pop. So a half a million to six
Wow.
hundred thousand dollars, and they're not cured.
Right.
We could send them to do Ibogaine to cure them in one city, and that's where the VA is going to save a lot of money.
Oh,
Then they could
absolutely.
administer to all the people that have been exposed to chemicals. I mean, Agent Orange a long time ago,
Yeah.
chemicals in war, and they're getting cancer, and take care of them because we're going to relieve the VA of a lot of people that go there every week for methadone or whatever, or rehab, and we're going to alleviate that. But the money that we need for one and done has got to come out of the DoD, not the VA. And I wouldn't want to take money from the VA because the veterans need that. So
Right.
we're going to do a documentary on our integration process and send it to the government because I have to
Hmm.
be up in operation to get money out of them. But let me go. I didn't have a hand in that documentary in Waves and War, but with 25 minutes to go, they were interviewing a veteran named Marcus, and he
Okay.
clearly says Ibogaine is not a one and done medicine unless the
Okay.
integration is done right. And that's where one and done comes in. We're not serving the medicine, we're bringing the vets post Ibogaine therapy to Austin to do the integration. And let me tell you what's in the facility.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's fantastic.
We're going to have a nutritionist that's going to teach them how to eat clean, send them home with recipes, a physical fitness trainer that's going to
Hmm.
start them, lean and mean when they went off to war. Now they're overweight, addicted.
Yeah.
So we're going to teach them how to start exercising again. We have a phlebotomist on staff that's going to do blood draws. Since we have them 3 weeks, we got a chance to do their blood work.
Hmm.
Jeremy Sabo is our medical concierge. He'll take the blood work, look at the vitamins, peptides they need to be on, look at their cholesterol, their triglyceride levels, and try to get that working for them.
Hmm.
We're going to have a full gymnasium, pickleball courts, a chapel, a painting room where the couples can do a painting together. We'll have an artist teaching about colors. We're going to have a clay room where they can make some clay pottery together, a full spa where they can get couples massages. We're going to have saunas, steam rooms, cold plunges, red light therapy. We're going to have a media center. We have a myriad of activities to do that they can sign up for, yoga, Reiki, sound baths. We're going to have
Yeah.
everything under the sun to welcome these guys home and treat
Yeah.
them like the human being God created them to be. And in
Yeah.
turn, we'll be working one on one with them. And the best thing for integration, I found out, is to go on your phone and do a voice recording. We're going to write out about 10 minutes of the person you want to be. I want to be love. I want to be light. Write
Hmm.
it down. Then you're going to record it on your phone and you're going to go to sleep listening to it. Because when you listen to something while you're sleeping, it's embedded in your subconscious.
Hmm.
So we're going to have the headphones for them. We've also now partnered with Bill with Alltel Wireless. They got a program with another company down in Houston for cell phones.
Okay.
And I
Great.
met with Bill here in Austin, and they're giving free phones to veterans that need it.
Hmm.
And I said, here's the deal. I said, let's set up a kiosk in our facility. And I said, when a veteran needs a phone, I said, I'll call you guys to come get it. He goes, no, no, no. You give them the phone. He goes, I'm going
Yeah.
to give you 50 phones with 2-year prepaid. And he says, when you get low, call me. I'll send you another 50.
That's amazing.
So Alltel Wireless is partnering with us. My florist, I told her, I said, hey, I want to work a deal with you. I said, I'll build you a new flower shop on the property. You got to be separate because I'm a nonprofit and you're for business. I said, but
Yeah.
I need fresh flowers in all the suites that the veterans are in every Monday. A nice the reception and desk is going to be shaped like the Pentagon. They'll sit in the middle with a Pentagon shaped desk. I said, I want a fresh arrangement there. There'll be community restrooms. I want fresh flowers there, maybe a small one. I said, in turn, I'll build your facility and I'll pay all your utilities.
Hmm.
And she's like, oh, when is this going to start? I said, about a year and a half. She goes, my lease is up in a year and a half and this building I'm in is falling down. I needed somewhere to go. I said, well, you can run all your flower shop over there. You just supply one and done, and you got free place to do your business. So she was all on board. And then I'm going to partner. You know how they do rugs for
Yeah.
businesses? Every Monday they could bring rugs. Well, I'm going to partner the one that does our construction company and say, hey, you can service Georgetown. I'll build you a little facility here. Fresh rugs every Monday. And so I'm partnering with people to get, stuff in the center
Yeah.
for free by giving them a facility, and then all I have to do is pay for their utilities. So,
All right. So I got a question for you, Tony.
yeah,
Where does all this come from? You have so much altruism in the way you speak. You have so much like genuine, authentic care of other people. Where does this come from? Were you this way as a child or as a teenager, in your 20s and 30s, or were you self-absorbed like I was, and then a life event had me obviously look at changing the way I was living my life? Like, where does this come from? Because you don't meet me. I don't meet many people like you that just exude so much all about helping people. That's rare
yeah.
today.
I was just the normal guy. I mean, somebody cut me off in traffic. I always like horsepower. I had to get around them and block them. That
Yeah.
was me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
back in the day, I flipped people off. I
Yeah.
yelled at
I did
people,
too.
and then
Yep.
that went away. And then it was just blocking people. And now I drive around when somebody cuts me off. You know what I do? I go, you first. That's
Yeah.
all I say is you first.
I
If
always
you're in a
think
hurry,
maybe
go right
maybe
ahead.
I always think
It was
maybe
plant medicine.
okay.
Plant medicine changed me, and it helped me become love and light. That's what I was manifesting. God, I want to be love and light. God, I would pray every morning, God, use me. Use
So
me. I want to.
you basically, this has all happened in the last like 4 or 5 years for you.
4 years.
Yeah. See, again, this is why you and I are bonded so well, because mine is about the same time frame. I said as the universe took my wife and my son, it gave me this wisdom that
Hmm.
has happened through my experiences with plant-based medicine. I can't explain it. I know you and I talk about, higher power and a source and all that, but there's certainly something going on, that if you lead with love and abundance and empathy, and you show genuine care for people, I don't think the universe owes us anything. But I think it's a natural offshoot of goodwill, of doing good things. Good things happen back, and what those good things are, I'm not going to quantify. I'm not going to say it's going to make you rich, it's going to make you good looking, it's going to make your relationships better. I don't think the universe works that way, but I do think if you put out good vibrations just by accident, that at some point you're going to get good things coming back to you. And again, I don't know what those are. It could just be maybe your stomach gets better. It could be something monumental, as in somebody believing in your company, all of a sudden you get a big donation or something. It could be something like that. But there is something going on, Tony. I think I'm aligned with you. I was pretty much an atheist before I went down this road the last 4 or 5 years. I've now shifted to be a lot more open to spirituality, which is kind of a loose term people throw around. But I know you have a very strong relationship. You talk about God all the time, about source. Can you share a little bit about your relationship with your God or source, and being that it's such a strong personal relationship, maybe what you've learned from this relationship?
Yeah, so I've been a believer in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior since about, you see, It's about 2000. 98, 2000 is when I accepted Jesus as my savior.
And prior to that,
And
Tony, were you like an atheist or agnostic prior to that, or you just didn't really follow it
no,
too
I
much?
believed in God, but I didn't go
Okay,
to church and I didn't
gotcha,
pray every day and all that.
gotcha.
And there's a difference in believing in Jesus Christ and being connected to the spirit world.
Okay,
Now, you heard of the pineal gland.
yeah, absolutely. Yep.
It's a small pine cone in the center of your brain. That's where your soul sits.
Hmm.
Inside that is crystals. There's crystals inside the pineal gland.
Hmm.
That's your connection to the universe, but you have to open it.
Hmm.
You have to activate it. And to do that, I was watching Greg Braden, and he had this technique where you just sit up in your bed up against the wall and you put all this pressure on your abdomen, and it forces the spinal fluid up to your brain and back down, and you're rotating that. And I did that a couple times. Every 2 weeks I was doing it, and it opens your pineal gland. Now, if you have a lot of fluoride in your toothpaste or let the dentist put it on your teeth and all that, it calcifies the pineal gland and it can't open. But you can take like Shilajit and some other Himalayan Shilajit, helps decalcify it. And once you can open that, the crystals can communicate with the spirit world and you get downloads of information. I'm going to share with the audience some things I've learned. I learned how parallel realities work, and nobody's ever said how they work. There is a parallel reality to Earth, what you're going through right now. We are in a matrix, but it's a day ahead. So when you go to sleep and your body twitches, that's your soul leaving your body and telling your temple, your body, that I'm leaving, but I'm coming back. So your soul goes and it runs the day before. So when people say I had a dream and it came true, it's because your soul did it the day before.
Interesting.
So it runs that day before.
I've never heard that presented that way.
Your soul leaves and it runs the day before. Then it stops and it meets with your council to talk about your next day. Then it goes through the angelic realm where it grabs a dream. And when it pops back in your body, it wakes you up. You always wake up from a dream, right? It's your soul coming. So your soul twitches when it leaves, wakes you up as a dream. And the reason they say have a notebook handy to write down your dream.
I do every day.
Your soul is going to erase the dream by morning.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a lot of dreams, that's your soul leaving and coming back.
I do. I have two or three vivid dreams at night that I write down.
So when you have a dream late in the morning, right before you wake up, you remember that one, right? Because your soul hasn't erased it yet. But usually by the end of the day, you forgot it because your soul is going to erase it. Now, your soul ascends back and forth to heaven numerous times. It doesn't always erase everything. And so people remember past lives. Like there was a little boy in the UK who was like 6 years old and was telling his mom and dad all about Lady Diana and getting chased by the paparazzi and all that.
Yeah, yep.
Well, that's because the soul didn't erase it all. Now, when your soul doesn't erase the day before exactly, that's when you have deja vu. You go, man, I feel like I did this before. Well, it did. Your soul did it the day before.
Okay.
And so when you have a dream where you see people and friends and coworkers, that's a dream from the reality before. When you have a dream where you see people and places, but you don't recognize anything, that's a past life. And then when you have a dream where it's scary, weird stuff, that's a different dimension. So your soul leaves and goes back and forth. Now, the weirdest thing is I don't sleep well. I get 1 or 2 hours of sleep a night. But one night I had like 8 hours. But man, I had like 9 dreams. And and I always wake up from a dream and I go grab a couple grapes. I don't drink water. I just have a couple grapes. And I would get up and my like limping. I'm like, man, what's wrong with my knee? I go back to sleep. I wake up. I go grab a couple grapes. And my back hurt. My knee hurt. And I'm like, man, tomorrow's going to be rough because my soul is running tomorrow. And after every dream, I got up the next morning and I was aching. And I'm like, oh man, today's going to be rough because my soul already ran it. And I'm hurting. So I knew I had a lot of physical activity. And let me tell your audience how your sleep works. So you have your temple and you have your soul. Now, if you do a lot of physical activity in the day, but you don't do a lot of thinking, so your soul's not tired, but your body is. And what do? You lay there your body's so tired you don't move, but
Right.
you can't sleep. Your mind just going da 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 because it's not tired.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you sit at a computer all day and you do mind stuff all day, but you don't do any physical activity, when you go to bed, your mind goes to sleep. It's tired, but your body's not. So what do? You flip flop and you wrestle all night
Right.
because your body's going, I'm full of energy still. So
Yeah.
there's how sleep works. You're either stiff but wide awake, or you're asleep and your body's moving. One of them, but when you get a really good night's sleep, it's because you use your mind and your body. They're both tired. So that's
Mm.
when somebody says their sleep patterns off, it's that they're either doing physical or mental or doing mental or physical. When you do mental and physical, you get good sleep. And so through my stomach issues, I'm not getting any physical activity. So I lay there all day wide awake. Like
Yeah,
my
I
mind is
imagine.
just going and going and going. And then I start manifesting and getting downloads. And I mean, one of the downloads I got was build it in the shape of the Pentagon and put
Yeah,
a
I think
welcome home sign on it. And I wake up the next morning, I write it down. Tell the architect we're building in the shape of the Pentagon.
yeah.
So that's some cool stuff. And then I learned about coyotes. You only hear coyotes like every couple months. I have a pack that lives out behind my ranch.
We saw one the other day here in Iowa in our backyard. Yeah.
Yeah. So they only howl every once in a while. And so I was listening to a podcast and it said when a pack of wolves can't take down a lion, they get hungry. And so what they do is they look at their own wolf pack and they pick out the weakest link and they eat that one.
Oh,
And so I'm
wow.
thinking, wow, they must all be laughing and howling because they just took down the weakest link of their tribe. They don't
Yeah.
howl when they take down an animal they eat because I sometimes don't hear the coyotes at the ranch for like 6 months.
Hmm.
And so I know they're out nocturnal feeding every
Sure.
night. I have them on my deer cams. I see them all the time.
Yeah.
And so I know they're eating all the time, but I think when they kill one of their own is when they howl.
Hmm.
I'm just trying to add things up and
Yeah,
put things together. But yeah, I've been learning a lot about the spirit world. And then you witnessed my Kundalini awakening in
I did.
Panama, the
I
most
did.
biggest um, energy boost. I didn't sleep. I think I was in
I
Panama.
know.
We were there, what, 7 days, and I slept for 3 hours.
That
And
was
I had
like,
so much
I
energy.
know. That's all people were saying when you weren't around. Is like, does this guy ever sleep? Because I never met you before. And yeah, you had like, it wasn't just never sleep. You just had unlimited energy, just
Yeah,
bountiful passion, just like, and it wasn't like fake. It was like really going on inside of you. It was
yeah.
genuine
Well, the
excitement. Like you
day,
were like excited for the opportunity that you were in Panama with us and all of us were together spontaneously. And again, there were some people there that had commented about what are the mathematical odds of all of us being there at the same time. It's in the trillions, but the reality is that's how life works. It puts you in these situations that seem like mathematically impossible, but there is a reason that you and I were meant to meet there. And I did get to witness your Kundalini experience, and it was not knowing you at all, seeing you go through this, the struggle, the beauty, the laughing, the crying, kind of the same thing I was going through, but I don't know what to call it. Um, it's almost like you're shedding skin and you're evolving at the same time during the middle of this journey that you're on, which is beautiful. I mean, I guess that's what I've learned about the human experience and about now as an advocate, where I can do more witnessing other people going through these transformative experiences, not necessarily psychedelic related. Matter of fact, most of them aren't. Most of the people I know in the advocacy space have not been to the experiences you and I have been. But they're still having these very things through meditation, running, things that get the chemicals going in your body that aren't induced by plants, let's say. There are other ways to do it for those people that maybe can't afford to go on these experiences or maybe still have reservations. I had a hard time, Tony, I'm not going to lie. I've never shared this before, but my son died in a hotel room with a needle in his arm. Okay.
hmm
And I'm sitting there on a bed with people I don't know putting ketamine in my arm. That was a very difficult thing for me to get past. Is like Seth was just trying to get high, and I'm not going to say get high, but I'm trying to experience this ketamine experience. And it took me a long time to get past that. But once I gave myself permission, I felt Seth kind of nudging me saying, "Hey dad, it's okay." That was a hurdle I had to get through. So for me, it's been a an evolution of sorts within my lived experience. And I kind of look at my psychedelic experiences as just a chapter in the book of Jeff, right? You
Hmm.
know, it's not the book. Certainly psychedelics aren't going to define you and I. But they are certainly important aspects of my life for a 59-year-old person who's been through, like you know, difficult last few years. And I'm excited about what's next. Like what's beyond psychedelics? Like I meditate, but what's beyond meditation? And maybe you could illuminate me a little bit about your thoughts on like what's the next stage for us as we grow as men. Like where does this take you and I, Tony?
Yeah. So let me add this, Jeff. So everybody says you create your own reality, and that's by what you put out into this world, the decisions you make. What you put out into this world is what you're going to get back. If you're a
Hmm.
jerk, people around you are going to be a jerk back.
Right,
You cut
right.
people off in traffic, people are going to cut you off. You put
Yep.
out love and light, you're going to get love and light back.
Yeah.
That's how the universe works.
I believe that
Now,
100%.
now, not only do you create your own reality, you create your destiny. And this is how the door opened for psilocybin. God opened the door, and I stepped through it.
Hmm.
And through that, I'm creating one and done to save our veterans. So
Mm.
I created my destiny, and when I'm gone, that turns into my legacy. You went through a traumatic experience, and you started Brighton. You're now saving children.
Well
You
said.
that
Wow. I got
trauma you
goosebumps. I got goosebumps, man. That's
that
perfectly well
trauma
said.
you went through
Yeah.
opened a door for you to start your destiny.
Yeah, it did.
And when you're gone, Brighton will still be going.
Yes,
Somebody
it
will be
will.
running it.
Yep.
That turns into your legacy. So we create our own realities by our
Mm.
day-to-day actions. We also create our destiny. God opens doors, and we have to step through that door. And somebody asked me one time, they said, well, if this doesn't work, what's plan B? I said, oh, I never have a plan B. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, if I got
Yeah.
plan A, plan B, God doesn't know which one I want.
Yeah.
And he may open the door to B and it's the wrong one. I said, if I focus on this and manifest this and God closes the door, I go, okay, let's get a plan B. If I have plan A, B, and C, God may open up C and it's the wrong one. I always want A. And if
I'm
God
laughing.
closes if God closes door A, then I'll decide, okay, what's plan B? And if he closes that door, I'll go, then plan C. But I never have multiple plans because I think God will, then
Well,
the universe doesn't know what I want, right?
I'm laughing, Tony, because we're aligned on so many fronts. And when I was thinking about building Brighton, you know, I'm 56 years old at the time, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I could easily, if I wanted to, just kind of retire and golf and scuba dive and just kind of like slowly ride off on my white horse until someone buries me someday. And then there was something in me. It's like, what a waste of my life in doing that. It's like, I'm 60. I've got limited years left, maybe 25 good years. I mean, good years. You know, I may live to be 100, but depending on how well I take my health, let's say 30 years of good years ahead of me. That's not a lot of time, Tony. You and I don't have a lot of time left on this earth. Why would I want to waste it in slowing down and riding off on my horse and golfing every day? I mean, for Jeff, and it sounds like for Tony, we're not wired that way. And that probably comes from the way we were brought up. I was brought up in a very competitive family with three brothers, played sports my whole life. You know, I know you did as well. And it's like, I think there's something in these stories that people watching you and I have these conversations. And again, I'll be a little sexist here and say mostly men right now. Like I'm in a lot of men's mental health groups and just kind of what I was drawn to. This camaraderie, this I got your back type thing. I mean, I've called you, full disclosure, at my worst moments in the last year to get kind of helped off that ledge. I've received a call from you as well. And there's something powerful in that, Tony, that you and I can see the goodwill that comes from helping a fellow person that is going through something. And then, you know, I don't think you and I have conquered any summits. I mean, I don't think One and Done is like your champion project, and certainly Brighton's not mine. It is where we are currently. It's where we're spending our attention right now. There are bigger things past One and Done and past Brighton, like you so beautifully articulated there that it gave me chills, because I guess I've never really thought of the door scenario, you know, the A, B, and C, because I tell myself all the time, and I tell people I don't have a plan B. Like I don't have a plan if Brighton doesn't work. So what do I have to do then, Tony? Make Brighton work, right? It's like, if you don't have a plan B, then you have to make it
the
work.
Door on Brighton, he's going to give you another
door
idea of something to do.
Yeah.
But Brighton is going to be successful. That's the way you have to think. Don't ever say it's not going to be successful.
Right.
Always think positive.
Yep.
And that's what I do. And the difference in Brighton and a nonprofit is I'm no longer running the nonprofit. I have to turn it over to an executive director with an assistant, and I step down as the board chair. And I just run the board meetings and do fundraising. Now, if we have a big donor that wants to meet
that's a huge part of a nonprofit is the fundraising. That's like that's the lifeblood of a nonprofit.
Yeah, and we just went to Mar-a-Lago last week. A group of us made some really good connections. And then I was just over at South by Southwest at the Marriott where Brian and Rick were speaking on Americans for Ibogaine. I found an in to get on the Joe Rogan podcast. I found a way to get to the $7 billion that Texas has left in the opioid settlement money. Just fill out a grant. I'm not supposed to have a meeting with the comptroller's office, but my lead lobbyist got me a meeting. Should be in the next week. And that way, when my grant goes through, then they'll say, oh, this is Tony and this is what he's building. And the comptroller's office already said they want to help us build the facility. So there's some money coming in there. We have figured out a way to get money out of the government. But in the meantime, we need some fundraising to come in. To be able to, I got to rent an Airbnb, bring some veterans in, run through our protocol and get a documentary done to send it to the government. So we do need some fundraising coming in. I've funded everything out of my own pocket so far. I've probably little over $6 million I've put into, the property and, the one and done. So we do need some fundraising coming in, but it's all for veterans. And right now we're set up through Give Butter with Legacy Global.
Yeah, we're going to share all that, Tony, because I know my mind's racing right now about, even my CTO and co-founder, Carson, you're going to meet. He's a vet. And when he found out, and again, I hope you're okay with me sharing this, but you're our largest investor in Brighton, and I'm honored to have that ability that on the sands of Panama, you and I, had a spiritual battle there and bonded, and now, you supported Brighton, and I'm forever grateful, and I want to pay that back in a way where I can support what you're doing, and then in a way where we can promote it within my channels and see if there's somebody that I know that is looking for an outlet like One and Done. They just don't want to do a nonprofit. They don't have the money maybe, but they want to get attached to some organization like One and Done. So yeah, it's crazy that you and I have known each other less than a year, and we've been able to join forces. We've been able to put our heads together, been able to support each other away from the business world, just as friends, as humans, as brothers. And we have so many common traits that drive your success and drive, what I've done on the investment side with my old company and now with Brighton. And it just goes to show that, you can let adversity define you, right? You just wanted to have it define you in a good way. I get mad when I hear people say, well, don't let adversity define you. Don't let it. I'm like, no, I push back on that. I think it's okay to have horrible things in your life define you, but the definition needs to be positive. I think that's the differentiator. So yeah, did Seth's death impact my life? Absolutely. Did Prudence's death? Absolutely. But I tell you what, man, you and I showed up today. We both made it. We're going to make it to 60. God bearing, God willing, we'll make it to 65 or 70. Keep going, right? Keep showing up, keep helping people. And at a time when the world is killing each other and starving each other and fighting each other, and even in our own country, you can't have any conversations about religion or politics without somebody coming down on your thoughts being wrong. It's refreshing to see organizations like One and Done and Brighton and all the other ones that you and I work with, trying to help one another improve humanity on a high level, right? Because it's going to take all of us, right? I mean, we can't do it by ourselves. That's for certain.
Yeah, and you got to quit saying 65 or 70. You're going to live to 100, bro. I'm going for 100. I'm not going to say 65.
I'm chasing you. Yeah, if you make it to 100, if you make it to 100, I'd say, if you make it to 100, I'll make it to 100. I'm chasing you.
And start saying 100, because when you said 65 or 70, I'm like, I'm going for 100. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
65, 78. I'm just going to
Well,
say 100. I'm going to think positive and manifest 100. That's the way I
yeah.
think. One other thing I want to share with your audience, I don't
Yeah,
know how
sure,
much
man.
time we have
What
left,
time is it? I don't even
is
know how long we've been
oh,
going.
it's almost been an hour. I was
Okay,
telling
cool.
somebody, I said, Jeff doesn't know it, but I'm six episodes and I'm 3 seasons.
Oh
I can talk
man.
for hours.
I know.
But
Well,
no,
you and
one
I
thing,
can talk for hours. That's why I wanted you on the show. So,
yeah, one thing I wanted to tell your audience is learn to love yourself.
mm,
Take care of yourself. It's God first in my eyes. It's me second. I can't take care of my children or my family or anybody else if I'm not healthy. If
now
I'm
this
not
sounds familiar,
clear-minded
Tony. I've heard this before from somebody I know.
and
From you in Panama,
yes. And
telling
so
me to do a better job taking care of myself.
so you get so engrossed in Brighton. I saw your post about scuba diving the other
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And I thought, good, Jeff took time for himself. And what do I
Yeah.
text you in the morning?
You know, every morning you text me some inspirational message
Did you
about
wash
some.
between your toes?
Oh yeah, you do that one
Yes,
too. Yeah.
because I tell people, do you truly love yourself? Like, oh yeah, yeah. I said, you wash between your toes? Like, no.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of your body. Washing
Right.
your belly button, behind in your ears,
Yeah.
your between your toes. Wash God's temple. Wash it clean. Then you can say, I truly love myself. And when I first told you that, I was texting you every couple of
I
weeks.
know you were.
Don't forget your toes.
I know you were.
Because that way
Yeah.
you can honestly say, I take care of God's temple.
Yeah.
And the motto I live by is I tell everybody about Jesus Christ every day. And if I have to, I use words.
Hmm. That's
By
good.
my actions, my love and light, I try to, and I've been telling people I'm a lighthouse
Yeah.
because a lighthouse sits on the shore and boats seek it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those around me that don't like my new person and my new frequency, they're riding in the waves and drifting away. All the people that loved me have gone away. I got like very few people in my life right now, and it's the ones God's sending me to be part of One and Done. Nobody believes in me because they liked the old me. They still drink, they still hang out, go to bars and all that,
Yeah.
and I don't do that. And so
Right.
they're like, "Oh, we're done with Tony. He's no longer part of us."
Yeah.
And so God, I listen to these podcasts and it says, Tony, or it doesn't say my name, but it's like all the people close to you are going to walk away and I'm going to
Yeah.
send you new people. And I'm like, okay, you know, all those heavy drinkers are negative energy. And I realize I'm a star seed also, and I suck up other people's negative energy. So if I go to an event that everybody's in line with me, like a big group of people that are in my community or in the
Yeah.
plant medicine world, oh, I love it. I'm sucking up all the positive energy. When I
Right.
get in a group where there's a bunch of drinkers and smokers and da da da,
Yeah.
oh, I got to get out of there because that negative energy. And I think it comes from your aura because your brain and your heart are two different energy centers.
Yeah.
And your heart puts out this aura field. And when people that have negativity get in my aura field, it's like, ah. And
It's fun.
so,
You got me thinking about something you said a couple minutes ago. Then while you were talking, I was thinking in my head, okay, think of like 10 people, Jeff, that you would consider your close allies right now. And you're in that list, Tony, and I've only known you for a year. But my deepest relationships I have at my age now, the ones that, if I'm hurting, I got to pick up my phone. Who am I going to call? Those type of people, right? Not to get a favor, not to get something, but to call to talk to. They're all people that have been injected in my life. Not all of them, but I'd say 90% of them are people all within the last 5 years of my life.
mhm,
All in
mhm.
the last 5 years. I have great friends from childhood. I have great friends, but like you said, it's like, it's like I'm hanging on to the few that I have. And I can think of 2 or 3 right now that are dear friends of mine that go back to my childhood, but the rest of them kind of just, I don't dislike them. They just floated away. They just they went down different roads.
Mhm.
And I don't have anyone that I hate. There's nobody like that in my life, but it's like, I'm not hanging around the same people. Some of it's because of the situations that I don't drink, things like that. But then I started thinking, God, who are the people that I'm really close to? Tony and Ryan Hampton and some other people that come to mind that I was just with Ryan in LA this last weekend. They're all new acquaintances in my life that the universe said, hey, Jeff, you know what? Keep doing it, but I'm going to introduce you to this guy named Tony. On the beaches of Panama, you're going to meet this dude. Okay? Ryan, I just met when I did my tour a couple years ago. He drove down from Las Vegas, and sat on a panel. I was just this guy from Iowa. I didn't have any clout. I was just driving an RV around the country trying to help people. And as I got to thinking, yeah. So as I do these things and pay it forward, things start coming into my life. And none of it's been financial yet. All of it's been through relationships and so forth. And I think abundance is a word that sometimes gets misused, Tony, right? I mean, abundance isn't wealth. It isn't coming into money. If you do things the right way and you lead with intention and love and you help others, I think that financial abundance is a formality. I think it just takes care of itself, don't you?
Exactly. And I think what happens, Jeff, is when we get a calling or a destiny that God wants us to do, like you with Brighton and helping children and helping with addiction, and me starting One and Done and helping our veterans with suicide. That we start to awaken, and when we awaken, we're growing spiritually, and we're helping the collective. Those people around us that don't like the new us start to drift away.
Yeah,
and God's
yeah.
like, here's new people to help you fulfill my plan for you.
Yeah.
So the door opened for you to start Brighton, and the door opened for me to start Within, or I mean, One and Done. And here we're growing and we're helping, and everybody's drifting away, which I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
I
me
mean,
too.
I expected it because I listened to a podcast that told me it was going to happen.
Right.
And I laugh now because they're all talking about me behind my back, and I'm hearing what they're saying. I'm like, how do they know what's going on in my life? Nobody's been around me. Nobody's seen what I'm doing. And now if you go to oneanddone.healingheroes on Instagram, Nadia is my social media lady out of Miami.
Okay.
She takes all the posts, and she does that sound, the person's voice you hear on Instagram all the time.
Yeah, they're great.
She's got all kinds of videos. I just sent her all the stuff from Mar-a-Lago last week, and it has 60,000 views already.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I follow Instagram. I mean, as a matter of fact, we'll make sure that we put out your social media handles and everything else. But I was thinking of, again, every time you say something, it makes me think of things. But I talk about in the addiction space and substance abuse and mental health, you talk about collateral damage, okay? So like in our family, Seth was struggling. Well, everybody struggled. His little brother struggled. We struggled. My wife struggled. And then my wife struggles. And then I struggled, and everybody in her family struggled. And so you have this collateral damage that's so negative when it comes to addiction and substance abuse and mental health. However, what's the opposite of collateral damage? I called this in my first book, the ripple impact theory. And what that is the opposite of collateral damage is when you throw that rock in the water and the ripples go and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. I think what you and I are trying to do is live through that ripple impact theory. It's like the opposite of collateral damage that sucks in a vortex and kills people and makes misery and destruction and despair is this rock that you throw out into the universe that creates this ripple impact. And you're doing it with One and Done, and you're doing it with so many other things as well, Tony, not just One and Done. I like to think I'm doing it with the podcast and the book and the speaking and I keep telling myself, yeah, collateral damage is a real thing, but the opposite of collateral damage, it's like collateral damage is fear and scarcity mindset. It's like the opposite of collateral damage is love and abundance, and that's the ripple impact. And so I think that's a testament to what you and I have been through, and there's lots of people like us out there, and I think one of my missions is to find more Tonys out there and find more people that I can align our brand with, our Brighten initiative. We want to brighten lives. That's our motto, and the whole idea behind Brighten was about empowerment, and it wasn't about clinical. It wasn't about putting out fires. Your program, One and Done, is about the integration part of the psychedelic experience, especially with Ibogaine. That's probably arguably more important than the experience itself, And we look at mental health. It's like journaling and mood tracking and AI now is such a valuable tool on our app. I mean, it's so powerful now that we can take these things that a lot of people think are critical and negative, like AI, and we've found now through the pilot studies we're getting in that we can show that if people are committed to journaling and they're committed to mood tracking, they're committed to putting their dreams. I put my dreams on the Brighten app every morning, Tony, and I ask my Brighten AI to give me my marching orders. And last week I got a phrase, gentle momentum. That's what my AI on our app told me was my phrase of the day based on my dreams I was having. That's powerful. That's not the terrible stories you hear about AI. That's showing AI used in a responsible manner and tying it to preventative mental health. I think there's a great opportunity for AI to be involved in the integration side of psychedelics. I was asking myself 3 years ago when I was thinking about Brighton is what a cool thing to be in a psychedelic experience and to come out, go to your Brighton app, enter in your thoughts, because everyone journals on psychedelic experiences, but most of it sits in paper and pen somewhere in a drawer. It's not being used. It's not being pattern recognition. That's what AI is good for, is to find patterns in your journaling. I think there's a very good possibility that, and we'll have to talk about this, but I think what we've built, I see it fitting pretty seamlessly in the space where people are looking to take their past journeys and find some pattern, find some common ground. I did it with tattoos. So my first journey's tattooed here, my second journey's tattooed here, and my third one's going to be on my forearm. I'll have to show you the design I'm working on. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but I think, like I said, I'm really happy we had this conversation. You were on my real short list to get people in real quick to talk about it, because I know your work in Texas has been so important to get the Ibogaine initiative passed. And Texas is going to be the first state that's going to sit there and say, hey, we did it, so can all the other states, right?
Yeah, we're right now trying to decrim Ibogaine to get it on the class 3 list so we can legally serve it in Texas. So, and this year, I'm the board chair of the Texas Emerging Therapies Association. And this year, or next session, we're going to try MDMA because it is so powerful. They just had a 6-panel board that didn't know anything about MDMA, and so it failed. They said the research was tainted because, when we do a plant medicine ceremony, there's facilitators to help you in case something comes up.
Right.
Well, in one of the MDMA ceremonies, a facilitator laid down next to somebody to help them. They said, oh, it's tainted. You laid in the same bed, and that's why it failed. So
really?
Psilocybin passed, but not MDMA because they said the research was. So I hope to partner this year with Rick Doblin, or next year with Rick Doblin.
Yeah.
Who's a big proponent on the healing power of MDMA.
Yeah.
So together with Rick Doblin and Mike Hendricks, we're going to run through the Texas legislature again and try to get MDMA passed, because MDMA and psilocybin combination is amazing. And people are always like, you can't mix different plant medicines. Oh, yes, you can.
Yeah.
Take one plant medicine and add another. It takes you deeper.
Yeah.
You just do psilocybin and put a mask on, God is going to give you visions of what to see. We don't take it without a mask and watch the walls breathe and things take shape. And I mean, sometimes you'll be talking to somebody and they morph into like a lion.
Yeah.
And you'll get that vision, but that's usually a collective group all doing a ceremony together. You don't want to people take it and go to a nightclub. That's not what we do at all.
Right.
We sit in a circle and we hold the medicine and we say, I want to relieve this trauma. I want to relieve anxiety. I want to relieve PTSD. And then you telling the medicine what you want. Then you put a mask on and the medicine will go find that trauma and help you work on it. And the way I think it works is you got your subconscious above here, which is the white part of an iceberg, and the dark part below is the underwater part. And it kind of erases the veil between the two, and it lets the traumas come up so you can deal with them. Now, your brain compartmentalizes all these traumas, and some of them it hides them, and people don't even know they have them.
Yeah.
I listened to a facilitator out of Costa Rica that does Iboga. And now the difference between Iboga and Ibogaine, Iboga is small doses for 12 to 16 hours.
Okay.
Ibogaine is a big dose up front, a big adrenaline rush, and then small doses for 10 hours. Okay. And our veterans like that one because the Iboga plant will start at your childhood and make you go through every trauma of your life.
Yeah.
And so our veterans are over in another country in the barracks and they get the call. Go, 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 mission, mission, mission. And it's like adrenaline rush and they go fight.
Yeah.
Well, Ibogaine, and they're usually have an addiction because they're trying to mask what they had to do over there and see and go through that. So Ibogaine itself is a big rush up front. That's what they like, this big adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
And then it's shorter and it gets rid of the addiction. and it doesn't make them go through every trauma. The other difference is when you're done with Ibogaine, it gives the veteran a sense of purpose. I
Hmm.
have a purpose on this earth. And so, what I want to instill in the veterans before they leave our center is I want your purpose is to help sponsor another veteran to come through the program
That's beautiful. Yep. That's
because
perfect.
I don't want to just
Yep.
do a veteran and send them home. I want to say, hey,
Yeah. Right.
there's such a tight knit group. The brotherhood
Yeah.
and fellowship and camaraderie of our military
Yeah.
is, and it's hard for them to convince some of their comrades to, hey, this worked for me. It'll work for
Yeah.
you. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it's going to do. This is what it did for me. I'm healed. I'm a new person.
And you know,
And
as bad as their lived experiences are, Tony, there's no reason for those lived experiences to go to waste. They can be used in a way to help others. And I told myself this all the time. The moment I stop, like you never would have known about Seth and Prudence or even Beautiful Brighton
Mhm,
had it not been me talking about it. So
mhm.
these events, I think, again, I'm not recommending people to run around and talk about their trauma all the time, but I think there's something poetic or majestic about being vulnerable, sharing your own story, trying to get empathy, but not sympathy. Like I want to talk about Seth and Prudence, and I don't want you to feel sorry for me. And you've never shown me pity, Tony. If anything, just the opposite. You've kind of kicked me in the ass a few times, to get a little bit more in control of my emotions that I let go in Panama. You were good about trying to corral some of that back in because I have a tendency to be pretty hard on myself, as we all do. But you picked that out in my experience, and you were good in bringing that up. So I guess what I'd like to do is put a bow tie on this. We've been about an hour. This has been exactly what I anticipated that we would do, is have the same conversations that you and I have by the campfire when no one's around. This is the same level of conversation we have. And that's what I wanted about this podcast to always be about, was if someone walked by, heard you and I talking, and then stopped and listened through the window. Hey, these guys are having a cool conversation. That's why I wanted to get you on the show. And that's why I wanted to have a conversation like that. So somebody who catches this conversation is going to go back and catch all of it. And then ultimately, maybe we can find some people to add value to One and Done. Maybe we can find some people to help out with Brighton, because at the end of the day, I have a saying that I say, it's on the back of my shirts. It's kind of used on my Living Undeterred tour. And here's the saying: purpose becomes passion when it gets personal. And you say that a few times. Purpose becomes passion when it gets
Mhm.
personal. And if you say that backwards, that's how people figure out what their purpose in life is. So you find something personal. And for me, it was death and addiction. Make it a passion. I wrote a book, did a podcast, did a tour. And then what happened? Just by accident, it became my purpose. So maybe by design, not accident, it became my purpose. So you have found your purpose through a passion-filled experience that started a few years back through psychedelics, which, you know, came from some personal experience in your life. Whether you even know it or not, what drew you to psychedelics was some type of personal experience. At least that's been my understanding. The psychedelics call you. You don't really make the decision to go do them. They call you.
Mhm.
Ibogaine's been calling me since Panama, and I've not done Ibogaine or ayahuasca. Those are the two that I've not done. But ayahuasca is not calling me, Tony. Ibogaine
Yeah.
is. It's
Yeah.
calling me. I can hear it when I meditate. I can't articulate it. I can't verbalize, but I feel it. I feel like it's calling me. And so I think in the next 12 months, I'm going to have an Ibogaine experience, and I'm really excited to be able to share that with you and maybe experience it with you too. That would be great.
Yeah, a couple last things I wanted to share is you what God is using you to do is not only did you have a traumatic experience, you had two of them back to back. And you're here on a podcast sharing that no matter how tough and hard it can be to lose a child and a spouse, I'm living proof that I can manage it, I
Mm,
can beat it, and other people are going to hear this podcast and go, "Wow, look what he went through and he's here to talk about it." So you're helping people
mm.
without even knowing it, right?
Yes, sir.
And when you decide, let me add this, when you decide to do ibogaine, the day you decide, is the day the medicine starts working on you. Believe it or not, I've had all kinds of people from all kinds of facilitators tell me the day you decide is the day it starts working. So if you decide to
Well,
do it today, in a month, or in 2 months, that day in your mind, when you say, all right, I'm booked to do Ibogaine in 6 weeks, it starts that day working on you. It's
yeah,
calling you. I know where to go to get it done, and I'm going to schedule my own. Um, I just want it's a complete brain reset, and I need that right now. I got a
yeah,
lot of stuff that's happened and all that, and I want to erase it all, and I want to start over. And
yeah,
I'm fully committed to one and done. Donations, we do need some help getting going here.
yeah.
We probably will start construction in about 6 months.
Okay.
Maybe 4 months. We're in the DD, which is the design stage of the drawings. We've been meeting every 2 weeks with the architects and engineers, and we're in the structural steel design now. Electricians on board, the dirt guy, utility guy. We got a bunch of people already ready to go. We got the property. We're annexing out of the city of Georgetown. They're really hard to build in, so we're going to annex. We're on the edge of the ETJ, so we're going to go ahead and annex out. We're going to be on well, septic, and solar. Not solar right away, but we're going to have electric. But we're going to be off grid. We're going to have greenhouses and grow our own food. We're going to have cattle and raise our own beef. We are going to be a self-sufficient, lean, green fighting machine for our veterans. And the reason I'm starting with veterans is because the suicide rate is so high.
Yeah.
Jeff, 7% of our country is veterans, and the suicide rate is 14%. Now, the
Yeah.
VA is putting out 17.2 veterans a day. That's wrong. It's 24. And I've been telling my assistant it's 44 because they're not counting the overdoses. They only count self-inflicted
Good point.
gunshot
Yeah,
wounds.
very,
And
very
so
good point.
when we were
Yep.
in
Yep.
Mar-a-Lago last week, it was a
Yeah.
fashion show with veterans in camo and women in dresses, and the veterans were walking the women out. Really cool event. One of the guys is an ox. His biceps, Jeff, he was telling us, are 24 inches, his arms.
Jeez.
He was actually, he's a veteran. He's actually the executive chef at Mar-a-Lago. And
Okay.
he was on stage speaking, and his arms actually almost go straight out because he's so big. He does 2,000 push-ups a day in honor of veterans that he knew that have died.
Wow.
Now, in the last 10 years of war, we've lost 7,100 soldiers to war, a few more since this Iran thing started,
Yeah.
but we've lost 40,000 to suicide.
It's unacceptable.
And he sat there on the stage and he said, the death rate of veterans a day is 44. And I looked at my assistant. I said, I told you it was 44. Why I knew it was 44, I don't know. And she
Yeah.
said, oh my gosh, you hit it right on the head. I mean, it was like, so yeah, we're losing 44 veterans a day, and that just hurts my heart. That's why I'm starting with veterans. We're going to build standalone for people with any addictions. It's showing great promise with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. We're going to do a Parkinson's only. I was supposed to go speak to the junior ROTC military ball in Franklin, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville, but due to my health issues, I couldn't go. So I was bringing Command Sergeant Daniel Moore and the commander of the junior ROTC, Corporal Lieutenant James Land, to Mar-a-Lago with me. And Major Moore said, hey, I want to send Brigadier General Michael L. Scholes with you.
Mm.
So the general came with us. Well, guess what? The general is retired and he's handling all the veterans affairs for Tennessee, and he wanted to build that integration center. So we're going to partner with him in Tennessee. And I was thinking Washington, D.C., because there's a big military presence. But if I move over a little bit to Tennessee, that facility can get part of the Midwest and all of the East Coast. And then we'll probably build one in California because the military naval base out in San Diego, there's a lot of veterans over there that need help. Probably put one in Boulder to catch the other half of the Midwest and the other half of the West Coast. We're going to build standalone Parkinson's, maybe Alzheimer's is showing progress. So we have 4 or 5 facilities. We're going to cookie cutter them. So we build the same facility everywhere. My builder's already on board to travel and build them. Austin will be our flagship, but then we don't have to pay the design fees for electrical, mechanical. We do it once and we cookie cutter it around the country. Now, Canada's socialized medicine is Fraser Health. They have a lot of money. They tax their citizens a lot, but their socialized medicine is really good. They are about to start serving Ibogaine in Canada and paying for it.
Wow.
And they want to send their veterans down to Austin for the integration until we can build a facility in Canada.
Yeah.
And so we're already going worldwide. We have some connections in Puerto Rico. They want an integration center down there. So yeah, it's going to be big. We just got to get some funding in to get this first one, and then we're going to talk with Tennessee, talk with Canada, and talk with these other states to see if they can help us build them.
Well,
So,
super proud of all you're doing, and I'm just above all honored to be a friend first of everything.
yeah,
And
what a blessing you've become in my
think
life.
of what we've done together in a year. What we
I know.
give you and I 5 years. Watch out.
Yeah,
No, and there's so many other people like Tony and Jeff out there that we just got to find them. We got to bring them together, and we got to support them and love them and encourage them, and don't judge them. For all the stuff they've been through. I mean, I if someone asked me right now to take a pill, and all my suffering, all my pain, all that would go away, I wouldn't take it in 2 seconds. You couldn't pay me to take that pill because I needed that to go through that to get to where I'm at today. Without all that, obviously, I'd love to have my son and my wife back. But there was some reason why this occurred to me as an opportunity for me, right? Not a victim, but a victor mindset. Instead of telling myself, like I used to tell myself, why me, why me? And now it's like, why not me? Not in some biblical way, but like, why not me? Apparently, so far I can handle what has been thrown to me, and so can you. But now it's like, what do we do with it now? Like, what do we do with this valuable life lesson we have given to us through suffering and pain and death and all that? And I think that's the ultimate story of resistance and perseverance and living undeterred, as I like to say. And it's been an honor to have you talk again, Tony. It's always good to see you. I know you and I talk frequently. I'm your biggest fan here in Iowa, and I want to do what I can to help One and Done. Any follow-up last words you have, wisdom to throw in as we end the show here? And again, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know you're busy, as people can tell, listening to all the stuff you got going on. Any words of wisdom for anybody out there that needs a little bit of a pick-me-up? What would you say to that person?
Yeah, just God is going to put you through some stuff, and he will never put you through anything you can't handle. You can handle anything. Look at what Jeff and I have both been through, especially Jeff. He's helping the collective by being on this podcast and saying, look, I've been through some very traumatic stuff, and look what I'm doing to help the collective. By what you're doing, you're showing people that no matter how tough it can be, you're big, you're strong, you can handle it. And I want to be there for you. And if you ever have struggles, I told you, call me. I want to be your first phone call. And you were my first phone call when I was at wit's end. It's like, man, I can't do this anymore. Boom.
Yeah.
You even said, you go, I didn't want to talk to anybody, but I saw it was you. I answered. And I said, I'm glad you did, dude. I said, I'm at wit's end and I'm about to end my life.
I didn't.
You said,
not Tony. Not Tony. I don't want to answer this call.
All of
I'm
us
going to be on the phone with him for an hour, and he's going to tell me all these things I don't want to hear.
Yeah, and it was a short phone call. I just needed somebody to say, hey, you can do it. You're tough. You're strong. God's got a purpose for you.
We all need that.
But oneanddone.org is a website. Go to oneanddone.healingheroes on Instagram. Nadia is posting all kinds of stuff, and some of them are funny.
Yeah.
Me with the cows and the animals.
I saw that.
It's hilarious.
It's good.
Yeah.
And the Mar-a-Lago pictures were phenomenal. The amazing pictures you had. But all right, man, I'm going to have all the contact information on the podcast. This is one of the longer ones I've done, so I really am appreciative of your time. And I am going to come see you shortly. We got to pick a day. I'm going to fly down. I just want to sit in a room and pick your brain and get a tour of what you're doing down there and see how I can help you, man. I'm all in with you.
Love you, Jeff. Thank you so much. Don't forget, take Jeff time and everybody.
My toes.
Between your toes.
I will, right when I get home.
You're almost up to date with Tony. You'll never be up to date because stuff happens every day. So that's my new motto is you're almost up to date with Tony. When we have our Zoom calls, I'm like, oh, you're almost up to date.
I'm just trying to keep up with you, Tony.
Love you. Thank you, audience. For those of you that do send in donations, thank you in advance. Yeah. It's going to save our veterans. So love you. Thank you. And God bless.
All right, man. I love you too, Tony. Thanks a lot, brother. Talk soon.
All right. Bye.